Sotomayor did a video saying that he's gay. Now, when I watched the video, he's trying to make it like he's joking or playing. But one thing I've noted a person told me is that truth is often told in jokes. And why would a man that professes to be straight kid around saying he is gay? And I just really have a problem with that, mainly because how homosexuality was forced upon black men, especially during slavery. To be honest, when I first saw Tommy, to me, like a person that has gay tendencies, and the way he attacks black women, he just may be gay, because a man that loves women is not going to say or do anything that is going to make them stray away. To me, a black man that is gay is disrespecting all of the ancestors that had to endure the embarrassment and the shame from the treatment of their white handlers. I heard some words from a former slave, Fountain Hughes, and it is downright heart-wrenching to hear the things that black people had to endure during and after slavery. Hell, even today. All the real men that I know, when they are confronted with that jacket that they're trying to put on you like you're gay, you are going to speak vehemently against that. You're not going to joke and play like, well, if you think I'm gay, I'm gay. The only person I know that speaks those type of words are gay men. You know, with that interview with Fountain Hughes, what I've noticed is that the government has recordings from former slaves. And the majority, if not all of the recordings I've heard, are from downtrodden, beaten down men. You know, you never hear recordings from men like Nat Turner, who was a writer. You always hear from these guys who were lifelong slaves that never tried to leave the plantation. And guys like Thomas Sotomayor are lifelong slaves that do not want to leave the plantation. When I was a kid, I used to watch Little Rascals and Our Gang. And I used to always wonder, why did Buckwheat have on his dress? Why are they trying to dress him up to look like a girl? He was the only one that they would do like the little black kid. And I used to always wonder why they always try to make a clown out of black people. But when you hear the words from Fountain Hughes, you will get a better understanding of what has been done and is still being done to us.
You talk about how old you are, Uncle Fountain.
Well,
How far back do you remember?
I remember. Well, I tell you, things come to me in spells, you know. I remember things more when I'm laying down than I do when I'm walking around. $5, of course, I got the $5 up there for it. Done today.
You talk about how old you are, Uncle Fountain.
Well,
How far back do you remember?
I remember. Well, I tell you, things come to me in spells, you know. I remember things more when I'm laying down than I do when I'm walking around. Now, in my boy days, well, boys lived quite different from the way they live now. But boys wasn't as mean as they are now either. Boys lived they had a good time, and the masters didn't treat them bad. and they was always satisfied. They never wore no shoes until they was 12 or 13 years old. Now people put on shoes on babies, you know, when they're 2 years, when they're month old. I don't know how old. Put shoes on babies. Just as soon as you see them out in the street, they got shoes on. I told a woman the other day, I said, I never had no shoes till I was 13 years old. She said, what, but you bruise your feet all up and stump your toes? I said, yes, many times I've stumped my toes and blood run out of them. That didn't make them buy me no shoes. And I've been, you wore a dress like a woman till I was, I believe, 10, 12, 13 years old.
So you wore a dress, Phil?
Yes, I didn't wear no pants because they didn't make boys pants. Boys wore dresses. Now the women's wearing the dresses and the boys are going with the women's wearing the pants now and the boys wearing the dresses. Still.
Who did you work for, Uncle Fountain?
Who did I work for?
Yeah.
You mean when I was a slave?
Yeah, when you were a slave, who did you work for?
Well, I belonged to Burnley's when I was a slave. My mother belonged to Burnley's, but we was all slave children, and soon after, when we found out that we were free, well, then we were bound out to different people, Ficklen, and Andrews, and all such people that, and we'd run away and wouldn't stay with them. Well, then we'd just go and stay anywhere we could, and lay out all night and anywhere. We had no home, you know. We just turned out like a lot of cattle. You know how they turn cattle out in the pasture? Well, after freedom, you know, colored people didn't have nothing. Colored people didn't have no beds when they were slaves. They all slept on the floor. Patted here, patted there. Just like a lot of wild people. We didn't know nothing. Didn't like look at no book. And there were some freeborn colored people where they had a little education, but there were very few of them where we was. And we all had a, what you call, I might call it now, jail sentence. Just same as we were in jail. Now I couldn't go from here across the street, or I couldn't go to nobody's house without I have a note or something from my master. And if I had that pass, that's what we call a pass. If I had that pass, I could go wherever he sent me, and I'd have to be back. Whoever he sent me to, they'd give me another pass, and I'd bring that back, so it's to show how long I'd been gone. We couldn't go out and stay an hour or 2 hours or something like that. They send you, now say for instance, I'd go to Shirley's place, I'd have to walk, and I'd have to be back maybe in an hour, maybe they'd give me an hour, I don't know just how long they'd give me. But they'd give me a note so there wasn't nobody interfere with me, and tell who I belonged to. And when I come back, why, I'd carry it to my master and give that to him. That'd be all right. But I couldn't just walk away like the people just now, you know. It was what they call, we were slaves. We belonged to people. They sell us like they sell horses and cows and hogs and all like that. Have an auction bench, and they put you up on the bench and bid on you, the same as you're bidding on cattle, you know.
Was that in Charlotte that you were a slave? Was that in Charlotte or Charlottesville?
That is in Charlottesville.
Charlottesville, Virginia.
Sell the women, sell the men. Oh, and then if they had any bad ones, they'd sell them to the nigger traders, what they call the nigger traders, and they'd ship them down the south and sell them down the south. But otherwise, if you were a good person, they wouldn't sell you. But if you were bad, mean, they didn't want to beat you and knock you around, they'd sell you to the what called a nigger trader. And that was regular. I was sailed every month, you know, at the courthouse. And then they'd sell you. Maybe $200, $100, $500.
Were you ever sold from one person to another? Were you ever sold?
No, I never was sold.
You always stayed with the same person?
I was too young to sell.
Oh, I see.
See, I wasn't old enough during the war to sell, during the army. And my father got killed in the army, you know, so it left us small children just to live on whatever people choose to give us. I was bound out for $1 a month, and my mother used to collect the money. Children couldn't spend money when I come along. But in fact, when I come along, young men couldn't spend no money until they were 21 years old. And then you're 21, well then you could spend your money. But if you wasn't 21, you couldn't spend no money. I couldn't spend 10 cents if somebody gave it to me. Because they just think, well, you might have stole it. We all come along, you might say, we had to give an account of what you done. You couldn't just do things and walk off and say, I didn't do it. You'd have to give an account of it. Now, after we got free, then it turned us out like cattle. We didn't have nowhere to go. And we didn't have nobody to boss us. And we didn't know nothing. And there wasn't no school. And when they started the little school, people that were slaves, many of them go to school, except they had a father and a mother. And my father was dead, and my mother was living. But she had 3, 4 other little children. She had to put them all to work to help take care of the others. So we had what you call worse than dogs that got it now. The dogs that got it now better than we had it when we come along. I remember one night I was out after I was free, and I didn't have nowhere to go. I didn't have nowhere to sleep. I didn't know what to do. My brother and I was together. So we knew a man that had a livery stable. And we crept in that yard and got in one of the hacks of the automobile and slept in that hack all night long. So next morning we could get out and go where we belonged. But we were afraid to go at night because we didn't know where to go and didn't know what time to go. But we had got away from that and we were afraid to go back. So we slept in that thing all night until the next morning, and we got back where we belonged before the people got up. As soon as day commenced to come break, we got out and commenced to go where we belonged. But we never done that but the one time. After that, we always, if it was away, we'd try to get back before night come. But then that was on a Sunday too, that we done that. Now, when we were slaves, we couldn't do that, see? And if we got free, we didn't know nothing to do. And my mother, she hunted places and bound us out for $1 a month. And we stayed there maybe a couple of years. And she'd come over and collect the money every month. And $1 was worth more then than $10 is now. And the men used to work for $10 a month, $120 a year, used to hire that way. Now you can't get a man for $50 a month. If you pay a man now $50 a month, you don't want to work for it.
More like $50 a week nowadays.
Well, that's just it exactly. They want $50 a week, and they ain't got no more now, and we had then. And we no more money, but of course they bought more stuff, more property and all like that. We didn't have no property, we didn't have no home, we had nowhere, nothing, we didn't have nothing on it, just like the cattle, we just turned out and get along the best you could. Nobody to look after us. We've been slaves all our lives, and mother was a slave, and sister was a slave, father was a slave.
Who was your father a slave for, Uncle Al?
He's a slave for Burnley. He belonged to Burnley.
Didn't he belong to Thomas Jefferson at one time?
He didn't belong to Thomas Jefferson. My grandfather belonged to Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, your grandfather did?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my father belonged to Burnley. And Burnley died during the wartime because he was afraid he'd have to go to war. But now, in them days, you could hire a substitute to take your place. Well, he couldn't get a substitute to take his place, so he ran away from home. And he took cold. And when he come back, the war was over, but he died. And then, if he had lived, it couldn't have been no good. The Yankees just come along and just broke the mill open and rolled all the flour out in the river and broke the Broke a store, sold all the meat out in the street, sold all the sugar out. And we boys would pick it up and carry it, give it to our missus and master, young masters, until we come to be, well, I don't know, to tell you the truth. When I think of it today, I don't know how I'm living. None of the rest of them as I know are living. I'm the oldest one that I know that's living. But still, I'm thankful to the Lord. Now, if my master wanted to send me, he never said you couldn't get a horse and ride and walk. You know, walk. You'd be barefooted, cold. But it didn't make no difference. He wasn't no more a dog, some of them in them days. He wasn't treated as good as you treat dogs now. But still, I don't like to talk about it because it makes people feel bad. I could say a whole lot I don't like to say. I won't say a whole lot, no.
Do you remember much about the Civil War?
No, I don't remember much about it.
You were a little young then, I guess, huh?
I remember when the Yankees come along and took all the good horses and sold all the meat and flour and sugar and stuff out in the river and let it go down the river. And they know the people wouldn't have nothing to live on, but they done that. And that's the reason why I don't like to talk about it. People, if you was cooking anything, eating that for yourself, and if they was hungry, they'd go and eat it all up, and you wouldn't get nothing. They'd just come in and drink up all the milk. Just do as you please. Sometimes you'd be passing by all night long, walking, mudding, raining. Oh, they had a total time. Colored people is free. You ought to be awful thankful. And some of them are sorry they are free now. Some of them now would rather be slaves.
Which would you rather be, Uncle Tom?
Me? Which I'd rather be? You know what I'd rather do? If I thought, had any idea, that I'd ever be a slave again, I'd take a gun and just end it all right away. Because you're nothing but a dog. You're not a thing but a dog. You're not a thing but a dog. Night never comes out. You have nothing to do. Time to cut tobacco. If they want you to cut all night long out in the field, you cut. And if they want you to hang all night long, you hang tobacco. It didn't matter about your tired, being tired, you're afraid to say you're tired.